Welcome to part 2 of the Texas EGRT behind-the-scenes look at a GIS-based disaster response. And again, a quick introduction in this second part. I'm the GIS manager for the city of Euless, Texas. Been here for more than 30 years. I'm the state director of operations for the Texas Emergency GIS Response Team, and I'm also an author of GIS-related textbooks for both Esri Press and GISguidebooks.com. So if you've not yet seen part 1, here's the link to that video. If you have seen that, then hang on. We're going to look at a lot more interesting things about disaster response. So the first thing we'll talk about are operational dashboards. And I got to say, since COVID-19, I've seen more dashboards than Henry Ford. So the operational dashboards are a great way to show multiple types of data sets in a single interface. You can show tabular data, you can show charts, you can show maps, lots of things inside of one dashboard. And since COVID-19 hit, these things have been immensely popular. You've seen them on the news, you've seen them on all the websites. And I'm going to show one that we did for the county of Rockwall not too long ago. That's basically their COVID-19 data center for the whole county. So in making a dashboard, the first thing is to pull together all the data that you need. Now in this instance, we're doing this for Rockwall County, and they have their own GIS staff, but they weren't that familiar with building dashboards. And so they asked us to come in and build the data sets, build the dashboard, and turn the maintenance of that data and the dashboard over to them, which they're now maintaining. I've not actually been into this for several months, I think. So let's take a look here at what data that they've got. First off, there were several Excel spreadsheets that they needed to pull in, like the male-female split of COVID cases, the number of ICU patients, the number of admitted patients. Let's see, these are the maps that were, the age table, that was a good one, the age spread of cases. There's several maps that we made, and I'll show in the dashboard, scrolling through these different maps, the recoveries, active cases, fatal cases, and total cases. I believe there's one other, there's a couple of charts that pop up in that as well. So we had to put all this together first, and then once that's put together, you can come in and start building your dashboard. You can see here that I've got a backup of the dashboard. In case something were to go wrong, you don't lose everything. I can just pull that dashboard back up, the copy, and have everything going again fairly quickly. So let's take a look and see what this dashboard looks like. So in this first view, we'll see what the components of the dashboard are. And understand, this thing was a blank page when we started. We brought each one of these different components in individually and set them up. So no two of these dashboards are really going to look alike. They're totally custom. And you see across the top we have a title, just saying what this is. Here's the map down here at the bottom. And notice in the map I have tabs, total case, recovery. These are the ones I showed in the table of contents there a second ago. Active cases, fatalities, and then these two lists, impacted daycare facilities and impacted long-term care facilities, and these get updated as the data changes. And then here's total cases. That's as of today, we're October 16th of 2020. That's their total cases, number of confirmed fatalities, the average age of fatalities, estimated active cases, and estimated total recoveries. And then a few charts, a couple of line graphs here to show day by day. This is similar to that rate of rise we looked at before. There's a little chart down here, how many tests that went on, their positivity rate. So a lot of information. I notice here they have the last update text that comes up, and I'll show that in the configuration in a second. So now let's take a look at the configuration for this. So here I've brought the dashboard into the editing interface. This is their live dashboard, but note that I have made a copy. So if we mess anything up, I can just delete this, and it won't mess up their website or anything. So that's it. Each of these components, you'll notice as I hover over these, a little blue box appears up in the corner. That's how I access the configuration. So let's start with the easy one. This is map. So basically you just drag in a web map that you've made. All the colors and the dot sizes, that sort of thing is configured in the map viewer already. And there's the different maps that I've got. Scroll through those. The way I get it to do this is I drag them one on top of another. Notice it says drag stack. So I have these maps stacked one on top of another. and that'll automatically make the tabs across the bottom. These got pulled in, they got stacked on top of each other. If I wanted to say take cumulative tests and stack it in here, I'd move to where I have the drag item, pull it over here, and see I can stack it on top. I can place it at the bottom, place it at the right, like that. If I stacked it, it would make another tab. Now I've got too many tabs to show across the bottom, so it goes to this scroller, and I can scroll through them. Let's get back to this one, and there I could drag the entire stack. Here I'm going to drag this single item. I'm going to put it back where it was. Okay, so as I pull things in, it just mixes all this up on the board, and I have to drag it into place. We'll build one here in a second. I'll show you. But let's take a look at one of the configurations. This is the easiest. This is just displaying a count. So if I look at configure, it's telling me that my data is showing the cumulative cases field, and here I set all my colors and such. Here I can set the title for the box and things. All right. There's the last updated text. Remember I showed you that before. We turn that on, it would show last updated whatever. And like I say, that's the last time this dashboard was refreshed, not the last time the data was refreshed. I'm going to cancel that. These are all just counts with different names below them. Okay, this one is a list. If I look at configure, you'll see that it's list. So I tell it, I do have a thing that says look for fields that are not null, strings that are not null, because I don't want a bunch of empty spaces in here. If I look at the list, this is what's going to show. That's actually a field out of the database called message, and it's just showing the message. Under general, here's where I put in the title. Just configure this however, set all the colors. All right, once you get in here, you can kind of see what each of these mean. Let's take a look at a chart. Now notice that these two have no gray bar between them. There's that one. There's two here that have no bar between them. There's two here that have no bar. But there is a bar between these and a bar between these. Here's two charts that have no bar between them. And when I do that, I can then drag them as a group, or I can drag them as individual items. Okay. You'll see here there's, oh, that's one item. That's two items with no bar in between. So let's look at the configuration. And here I'm basically telling it what categories to show, and that's what it shows in the preview here on the right. Charts get a little complex. This one is going horizontal. If I wanted to make it go vertical, it would look like this. With vertical, it got so wide, though, we couldn't have it on here, so I had to keep it as horizontal. You can label all the axes, so all these labels up and down the side. This is where those are put in, on and on and on. There's a lot of stuff to this. I can't just show you everything in here. But I'll cancel that. And then this is a line graph. Now this works the exact same way as the chart we just looked at, except I'm telling it, let's see, it was vertical. Somewhere I tell it that I want it to be a line instead of, there we go. I want it to be a line instead of a bar graph. That would be the bar graph. That's what we just saw. That would be a line, and then this is the smooth line, and they wanted the smooth line. A lot of this, I set all the components up, and then the people from Rockwall County, their GIS people came in and set all the colors and how to make the lines look and things like that, the verbiage. So here the graph is updated where they put all that in. So this was a really good cooperative effort between TxGIS to build the framework of it and Rockwall County to populate and maintain the data. So here's a quick look at how these are made. I've got the item details open for the active cases map, and if I go to create web app, my choices are the configurable app, the web app builder, the story map templates, or dashboard, and I'm going to go straight to dashboard and let that open. I'm going to give it a sample, title, active cases delete me, so we know to get rid of this, and let it go ahead and create. Let me put this back full. So what we have actually is a dashboard. There's one component, and it's the map. To add more components, I have this add component right here. And you see there's header, my picture's in the way there. Header, side panel, map, match legend, and you can check the Esri documentation on what all this means. Indicator, that was the one that just shows a count. Let's put one of those in. So I do that. It asks me what data do I want to pull this from. Let's pull it from estimated active cases. There's what it's going to look like. I can go in and add top text or bottom text. Middle is value. That's the field that's being displayed. There's my last updated a few seconds ago. I want to take that out. So total number of things. I don't want the last update text unless they're done. Now you see it makes it this one big giant box. And I could stack it on top of the map or below the map. But it's still one big box. Until you get several things put in there, the boxes seem a little big. Let's put it there. So I'm going to put in another, well, let's try another indicator. Estimated active cases. I'm just going to use all the defaults and say done. So you'll see another one. Now I can drag these together. So I can put it on top, which lets me have little tabs at the bottom to move between them. I can put it to its left, which would be 3 big boxes across. I can put it above it. That would put it above it with the gray bar line between it. And I can then drag this bar over. So there's this, those two things. If I hold shift while I drag it, notice it turns green. If I do that and I drag it on top, there's no bar between them. And this becomes a group. So if I hold the shift, I group items together. If I don't hold the shift, it makes it its own independent thing. And then to make that Rockwall County one, we just kept dragging more of these boxes in. So a couple of the charts, I don't think that one had a gauge. Put a couple of lists in there. Let's take a look at the list. So there's the cities that are involved in this action. I'm going to do this quickly. Just say done. Drag item. I'm going to hold the shift, dock it to the bottom so it goes into the group, and I can move the line between them. Now you have to be careful. You can't really set the text size. The text size is dependent upon the size of the box you draw. That way, if you have a big screen, the numbers look big. If you have a small screen, the numbers look small. And you'll want to preview this on your final view screen. If this is a desktop screen like what I'm on, then this is what you'll look for. If this is a projection in the EOC, those numbers would be about 2 feet tall. And so I'd want to kind of pull that down a little bit, maybe make the list bigger or the map bigger or something. So preview it on what your final view is going to be. But you just keep dragging more things in, and I'm going to just drag junk in. I'm not really going to configure it for anything, but you'll see how these work. So maybe I want to start another box over. I keep missing the drag. There we go. Start another column over here to the right, and then of that, maybe I need 2 things across the bottom. So you just start dragging all these things together. Eventually, you'll have a pretty fancy looking dashboard. So I wanted to very quickly show this. This is the same information that's in that Rockwall County dashboard, but pulled into Experience Builder. And so we made individual components from each of the elements in the dashboard and just dropped those into Experience Builder. And you can see this is in much more of a vertical format for phone use. They needed citizens to be able to view this data on their phone, and a dashboard is good for your desktop, or it's good for projecting up on the wall on the EOC, but when you put it on your phone, it won't automatically reformat the text sizes and things, and it looks really, really bad. So we just very quickly drop those things in here. You can see in the list of things you can add, very similar to what dashboard will add in. Next, I want to look at some of the field apps, and these are used for collecting data in the field. It's usually not the Texas EGRT members doing this because we're not a field team. We stay in the office. But other teams that go out in the field to do this, which may be a CERT team, which may be a governor's response team, it may be any sort of group, They would take these apps into the field. Now, Esri has other field data collection apps, one called Collector and one called Quick Capture, and we haven't really used those on full-fledged responses. I've built a few sample templates and tried things out, but we don't have that built up for use in actual operations yet. The one we use almost exclusively now is Survey 123. We do that for damage reporting, damage assessment, anything that's caused damage in the field for which you want to fill out a form. The forms are mimicked after paper forms that they used to use, and that way it looks really familiar to the people that are doing this. But in the olden days, when you did this in a paper form, you then had to come in and retype all the data off the paper into a digital format. So what happens now is they can do it in the field with Survey 123, looks just like their form, and it's automatically digital data, and it automatically pops up on the map. So the second the last button is clicked, we have the map ready, and they love that. These are based on Excel spreadsheets, and I'll show you what those look like. You can build those from scratch. You can build those from an existing layer. So there's a lot of way to make those. And then when you're done, the data that you've made is map data, so you can put it into a dashboard, put it into Experience Builder, any other app that you want to use. So let's take a look at how a survey is created. You can see here in this list of files, I've got a couple of Excel spreadsheets. This is the FEMA ATC 45 Rapid Assessment Form, exactly the way the FEMA form does it. This is our modified version of that. We've made a few changes for other things we like to collect as long as someone's in the field. And then I have written instructions in a PDF format of how to use this, how to build your own, how to download the data when you're done. So all of that information is packaged together. It's all done pre-event. You wouldn't create this on the fly during a disaster. You want to have this done beforehand. So we have our Excel spreadsheets ready. Now you'll see here every event gets a new survey. So there was Prosper did some training, Ellis County had some flood events, it was multiple days, Robertson County had a tornado, Cherokee County had a tornado, Dallas County had a tornado, this was the Ellis County floods. So all these different things, every one of these gets a new survey, but I use the same template to build them all. It makes it go real fast. So I'd say new survey from a file. I'm going to navigate to that folder where those files are. And let's go to GIS Day Presentation, Survey Files, and I'm going to do the modified. Up here, remember to put a title, or you're going to have Form 1, Form 2, Form 3. So I'm going to call this GIS Day Delete Me, so I know to take this out later. Create the survey. Off it goes. So it's really, really simple if you have your form pre-made. Now, this will pop up. I don't know what that was. So here I can look through each of the things it's going to ask me for. So each of these, it starts a group, or it puts a title on it, or it asks me for something. That's how the Excel spreadsheet works. And then this is what the actual survey looks like. So I type in the address. I can expand this to put in building information. I pick what type of building it is. Notice when I went away from one or two family dwelling, it didn't ask me how many units there are. Right? If I say low-rise multifamily, it still asks me the number of units. If I say prefab, it doesn't ask me the number of units because that's not residential. So it's occupancy. Is there standing water? This was a question that we added, yes or no. If you answer yes, it asks you how deep was the water. Right? So you're basically getting how much water is there now and what the peak flood would have been even if the water has receded. And then for these, I'm evaluating the structure. Just slide those over. I evaluate the building damage. Now this was another modification. If I pick a category, it automatically, or pick a percent damage, it automatically fills out the FEMA damage category. So if it's 75% damaged, that's automatically destroyed. 60% damage is considered major damage. 15% damage is minor damage. 5% damage, I think, is affected. 0 is no damage. So those fill out automatically. That's different than the FEMA form. There's the map of where you're currently standing. other information you can put, take photographs, fill out other information. Now we cooperate with the Building Officials Association of Texas to do this, and a lot of the modifications are for their use. So things like electricity, since they're building officials, certified building officials, they can release electric and gas to the reconnect for the building. So they can go ahead and sign that off right here. And then other things, and then damage value and such. So that's how easy it is to make one of those. I want to make a new one, new survey, and off you go. These are passworded, so the account I've made this into has a password. I would share it out to the users that are intending to use it. We typically will put 5 teams out, 2 people per team, so 10 people will go into the field and do this. When they log in, they'll see the survey on their login. So there's nothing I have to do here to make it available to them in the field. So these are very quick and easy to use. Spend some time designing it, spend some time working with it prior to taking it out into the field. They really like to run on tablets. You can run it on a phone, but you get in a situation like with a CERT team where you have 15 people show up with 15 different varieties and brand names of phone, and they don't look the same on every phone, they don't load the same on every phone, and you'll pull your hair out trying to get this to run on old-fashioned phones. So, so be careful of that. Boat comes in with 20 tablets, and the tablets are pre-configured to run this, and they just open up the survey and off they go. It makes it real simple. So that'll wrap it up, and again, let me reiterate, learn to use these tools. If you can use these in your regular job, then you're really set for taking these out on a disaster. Learn the different tools to use, the different ways to configure those tools, which applications work best in which scenarios. Like I say, some things work better for a phone, some things work better for a tablet, some don't work on either, so be careful of that. Find your local first responders that want to use this kind of thing. Practice with drills with them so they understand how it works. Going out on a disaster is not the time to start learning and teaching how this works. You want to have worked with it beforehand. Other than that, get involved with it, play with the tools, and see what you can make it do. So here's my contact info. If you have any questions about anything that you've seen in either of these 2 videos, feel free to send me an email and I'll get you a response back. Also, this is covered in my book through GISguidebooks.com. This is titled Building Web Maps and Apps with ArcGIS Online for Disaster Response and Other Critical Issues. There's sample data in here, there's scenarios to work through, and it'll get you up to speed on all of these techniques and all of these web apps.